Why hello everyone, Spencer here, also known as ScreenSpeak, and in today's video, this is my Rick and Morty Season 8 spoiler review. So without further ado, let's discuss. Alright guys, we're here. We made it 10 weeks, 10 full week-a-roonies, and this season flew by. This is one of the things that made the summer go by for me. This is my favorite show. If some of you don't know, got Rick and Morty here. And this feels this season like I've never strongly hated Rick and Morty, but I can firmly say after one season or after 2 seasons of Rick and Morty having their new voice actors, like I thought it was fine last season, but this season has returned to the show's proper era. Now, there's always going to be weird moments. I mean, Rick and Morty is always weird, but I think this season has shown that we can do multiple things, new things, with like it's an episodic arc, like singular, you know, what's the word, like singular episodes. Oh my gosh, I forget that word. Like when it's just structured in an episode, like singular. It feels more like an anthology than we're watching. Here's this big overarching arc, and there's things that they throw in like references and all this and that, and that's what I love from all like Rick and Morty in general. But you know, the first episode being in the Matrix, and the whole idea that Morty went to prison, then he's in the military. It's such a clever episode. All these ones are clever. And then number 2 with Space Beth and Rick, and them taking out the Gronflamites, bringing back the Gronflamites was a very cool episode. The Rick, the Morton, the Ugly, episode 3, having the most canonical episode of the season for this season for the show itself, which is having the Citadel, Rick and Morty, like variants, other versions of them, bringing those back and seeing new versions of them from the Citadel on this planet, on this cornfield. It's really creative episode, I think, and all these are really creative. This is one of my favorite. Like, I love Rick and Morty. One of the reasons I love it, it's just so creative. And episode 4, The Last Temptation of Jerry, is one of my favorites of this season. For instance, we get a holiday episode based around Easter, and Jerry's, as he is, he's always like, we gotta do something like believe in Easter, and they're like, no, and so he drives off and then kills the Easter Bunny, and now he's becoming the Easter Bunny, because it's like the Santa Claus, like you kill Santa Claus, you become that thing, and it's very horror-like, it's very like scary and like horror-esque of what the Easter Bunny looks like. There's this whole mythology they build around Easter and the holiday, and then my favorite thing, at the end, there's like this whole like crazy twist about like the Easter Bunny having people make love and have babies and stuff like that. And at the end, they go through this entire calendar year of different holidays, sing the song, like the Jerry's Christmas song, or Jerry's Easter song, like Deck the Halls. And Jerry, and then they're like, did we just live through a whole calendar year? Is summer still on spring break? And summer's on spring break, having spring break in December. And I laughed my butt off at that joke. I was like, that was fantastic. Also, another great joke in that episode was Morty's like, no, I'm streaming on Twitch. Fortnite just added JFK. I was like, dude, my friend Michael, we were over, I was showing him the episode, and he busted out laughing. That was a great joke. Episode 5 is a fine episode. It's a fine episode. I'm not like one to like gravitate towards this concept. It felt, you know what it felt like? It felt very religious. And there's nothing wrong with that, but it felt more so like Rick's trying to get like accepted in this family. But they had this cool car chase in the episode in episode 5. Cryo Mort or Rickver. I like that quite a bit. They're in like these cryopods, and then they become like these have to be like different people in this alien era. And I like there was like a bit of like a micro management or like a business type of thing, like not entrepreneur, but like a who's on which side, like a bureaucratic type of deal. I kind of like that, the whole money thing, but it also felt like a little bit of a religious aspect. I don't know, just me. But there was the whole mob thing, and then the car chase in episode 5, so that was pretty cool. The curious case of Bethmagen Button. The episode where Beths turn themselves younger, and then they turn Rick old, like really, really old in the end, and then Rick, Summer, Morty, and Jerry all go to Earthworld, a theme park based upon Earth that is on a different planet. And I thought this episode was nuts, like with the big heads, and the bad guy is like the antagonist is played by Danny DeVito, and there's a Danny DeVito big head character. And then my favorite joke in this episode is when Mary goes, "It's the entire Culkin family." I just busted out laughing. I'm like, that's really funny. And the writing, like one of my favorite things about this season is like the writing feels more witty. It feels like they know what they're doing. They're taking the source material seriously. They're taking their concept seriously with like the episodes and what they're going for. It doesn't just feel, let's be bonkers for the sake of being bonkers, which they are still bonkers, but I feel like they know what they want to do. I just love this, and I don't want this show to stop. It's my favorite thing. My favorite thing. And there's also a spin-off coming about the... by the way, the only character who's not in this season... Well, Wong wasn't in this season, and the President wasn't in this season, which we're getting a President spin-off, which I just thought was crazy that those two characters weren't in the show. I wonder if they got a lot of hate. I wonder if they just have them in this show too much, and people are like, meh, those characters are meh. I don't know. I haven't minded any of the characters personally. Like, I haven't been... There was a time where I was like, the President is a lot, but I'm a sucker for, oh my god, whoever plays the President. Whoever plays the frickin' President. Guys, I know who plays him. It's something. I just had it and then I lost it. Andre. Keith David. Oh my god. So Keith David, I love his voice, and sometimes the President can get a little much in the show, but he wasn't in this season. So, Ricker Than Fiction, I gotta say, it's probably my favorite episode of the season. There's some... This season is high. The Rick the Morton the Ugly is cool because it feels canonical. The fourth one is great because I like the horror vibes and the holiday vibes. Ricker Than Fiction was like is like the meta episode of the season. They always try to do like one of these meta episodes. I feel like they always try to have like, here's like a holiday episode, here's like one of these episodes, here's like one of these, here's like a Jerry episode. This is the meta episode, and this is what I loved about it. It came out the same week as Superman, and they made a joke. They had Zack Snyder and James Gunn. James Gunn was in the episode as a big part, and then Zack Snyder was in the scene talking with James Gunn, and they're like, yeah, James Gunn, I saw your new Superman. You should be like Man of Steel. Just ramp it down. Just ramp down the punch. And I'm like, that was so funny. And Rick and Morty got sucked into their movie where they're like trying to like make like a James Gunn, like fix James Gunn's movie. Not Superman, but a different one. Like a movie inside Rick and Morty. And they get sucked in, and Morty becomes like the son of the villain. It was so good. And when they're in like the real world, it's like actual real, like all full frame. And when they're in their movie, it's widescreen. Like it's the aspect ratio is down a little bit, and I'm like, it's so cleverly done. I love this episode because I like movies, and the way they're trying to fix it, I'm like, this is awesome. This is bonkers. Like, this is perfect for meta-ness of Rick and Morty. It's my favorite episode. Let's see the rating that it got. It got a 73. This season was rated very highly. And No Mortland, like No Man's Land, or no, was it No Man's Land? Or Nomadland, I think is a Jerry episode where Jerry meets another version of himself who's just unemployed, and they just go on adventures like through portals through their house and different versions of their homes and stuff. I thought this was creative in the sense that, okay, we get to see like how Jerry, and I thought this was a tease at evil Jerry. I thought this episode was really neat. Different, like the episode in season 2, Morty Night Run, we see all the Jerrys inside that like space place, the Jerry Marie. So I thought it was like related to that episode, but also we get to see more like how Jerry can go down a dark path with the one guy in this episode who is very evil, like an evil version of Jerry, which is close to me. Like in the comics, it was like an evil Jerry, so I like that quite a bit. This episode, the penultimate episode, Morty Daddy, was a cool one because they brought back Morty Jr. From the Sex Robot episode when they're on Gazorpazorp, and his son was a Gazorpazorpian, and they brought him back, and Morty thought he was dying, and then they go to this trash portal area, and chaos ensues in there, and Rick and Summer go to a restaurant where they have to, they predict your meal. They predict your meal, and it's like Minority Report with a movie called starring Tom Cruise, where there's just like these 3 women precogs, and they determine what you want. And don't get me wrong, I like there's like an A story and a B story, but the cogs, I didn't know what the cogs were, but then there was this cool chase later where they're like, we know what to do, we know what to do. I thought they were a little annoying at first, and until the story unfolded, I was like, okay, this is cool. I like this quite a bit. So I didn't have an issue with it by the end, and I understood the reasoning for the episode itself. And I was like, okay, I'm down with it. So I like that quite a bit. And this season is definitely going to get a rewatch for me, like, throughout the next year, like, until the next one comes out. Like, and let's just, like, I loved all this. Let's get to the finale called Hot Rick. So the reason it's called Hot Rick, like, Morty Daddy, I think it's supposed to be a reference to Big Daddy, and I think Hot Rick is supposed to be like Hot Fuzz. But Morty Daddy to me just sounds like, okay, Morty's a daddy. Hot Rick is referencing that Rick was in the Memory Rick. They brought back Memory Rick, which is another. This feels like another canonical episode. All the 2 in the season that are canonical are because they had the Groffin lights in season or episode 2. And then they had, episode 3, like I said, and then the finale did some really neat stuff with bringing back Memory Rick from the Bird Person episode, and then Memory Rick was somewhere else in another season. Like, oh, I think Memory Rick's here. I forget what episode that was, but I should know that because of how big of a fan I am. But regardless, they brought that back, and they had to deal with that. And at the end of the episode, when they're doing like this whole fighting thing, it was great, and Beth like had a fight with Space Beth and thought she snapped her neck. It was like, we gotta be a one happy family, and because Summer goes, that's a Hot Rick, saying that to Memory Rick, like that's a Hot Rick, referencing the name of the episode, but also that the Memory Rick jumped to Beth's mind after Rick took him out of Jerry's mind. And Beth, there's different versions of Beth, like the young versions from early on in the episode are fighting, so they brought that back. There was a moment when Jerry went back and saw the Matrix, like the Death Race car from the Matrix episode in episode 1, and then saw Jerry turning into the Easter Bunny. So I like that they had, like, Memory Rick was like looking at past episodes from this season and then saw like the younger Beths. So that was really cool. And then there were different versions of Beth trying to go after them. And then Rick and not Rick and Morty, who was it? Rick and regular Beth, I think, were up in there. No. Beth was in the car trying to go, almost going in the river. I think it was Rick and somebody else. Maybe, I don't know. But it was crazy. Or no, it was Rick and Space Beth. That's right. Rick and Space Beth in their car, space car, going to save regular Beth. And then I just thought these episodes were crazy, and Rick took him Memory Rick out of the mind and sent him and Memory Diane to live together in this like virtual world. So, and they played "Don't Look Back," which was a song at the end of another Beth episode at the end of season 3. So I thought, like, that's great. They brought that song back. They did that with the bridge song at the end of the fight with Rick Prime. So I like that they're bringing songs back. And the end credit scene is Mr. Poopy Butthole and his wife. Remember from last season, he stole a life of another Poopy Butthole, and she's like working with like the Poopy Butthole government. I don't know. That's just the race I'm calling them, the Butthole government. And they're like, so you think your husband's not from this universe or whatever? And she's like, yeah, his DNA doesn't match. And they're like, we appreciate you talking to us. We'll get on this right now, or something like that, right? Not verbatim, but I'm like, I have to. That was such a great cliffhanger to a really well done season of Rick and Morty that I'm like, I can't wait for more. I can't wait for more. And just to tell you, there's some crazy reviews here. One that has a 1-star. Oh my. Saying like, this show has returned to its roots. Its big story arc has wrapped up with an ending. I really enjoyed, and now we're getting new adventures featuring well-developed characters. And and then at the end of this review says, at the end of the day, it's Rick and Morty, not high art, but it's still clever, entertaining, and distinct in its own way. And I totally agree with that. That was 3.5 stars. And then there's a half star here. It says, I've seen enough. Let this show end in season 8. I disagree wholeheartedly. And the fact that we're getting a spinoff with President Andre Curtis, I'm down for it. Listen, as long as they stick, it shows it's in the same art style I saw on posts on Instagram. I wasn't a big fan of the anime. I tried watching the anime just because I was like, you know what? I don't like anime. The only anime I like is Star Wars Visions. And most anime doesn't resonate with me a whole lot, other than Visions, because I like Star Wars and I think the animation styles are really cool. Rick and Morty anime was all over the place. I couldn't understand it, like the subtitles and the story. I was like, stop. I had to stop. So since I was a big fan of Rick and Morty, I tried watching it. I couldn't. If they do a spin-off in like the same animation style as this show. Oh, and by the way, the poster is insane. I love the Portal 8 and like the goats and like the intro. I like the new intro. Like they always change the intro. And the Easter Island heads in the poster. There's like Jerry and the Crystal. There's the goats and then like Summer looks like a Picasso, which showed up in the episode where Jerry's are hopping from dimension to dimension. I just thought this season was crazy. I always think this show's crazy, but like I said, I'm excited to watch a spinoff with President Andre Curtis. As long as it's in the same art style, they're obviously not going to make it an anime, or else they would have said that. But don't change the art style. Do not change the witty jokes. Have a cameo if you bring Summer in, if you bring Rick in, if you bring Morty in. I know they're not calling it Rick and Morty, but like, have those characters in there. If they just make it like a Torchwood type thing, like for instance, Doctor Who had these characters in there. They had Captain Jack Harkness, and then they made Torchwood and had these characters in there. And they had the Torchwood characters in Doctor Who. They never had like the Doctor in Torchwood, but I don't know. I wouldn't mind having Rick and Morty characters inside of the new Andre Curtis show. I don't know if that's what they're calling it, but I enjoy it. I'm looking forward to it. So this season for me is just hell, a 10 out of 10, maybe even a 9. There's maybe like a road bump here and there. Because I wasn't a big fan of episode 5, I would just give it a 9 out of 10. But this year's was kick ass. I'm saying it, and I'm excited for more. So yeah, and this season premiered 3 days before my birthday. No. Sorry. First episode came out 3 days before my birthday, and I had a great time on my birthday, and I had a great time with this summer season. And a great summer movie season, great season of Rick and Morty. I loved it. Don't forget to let me know if you've seen this season of Rick and Morty. Are you still interested in it? Do you not care? Do the voices bug you? By the way, the voices don't bug me at all. Do you just not... I think they do a stellar job of the voice acting, like Justin Roiland did. Do you just not care anymore? Do you like it? Do you not like it? Let me know in the comments below. Don't forget to leave a like, subscribe, follow me. Don't forget to keep calm, watch screen. Peace out, everyone. Bye.